Howard! Hail Robert Matthews!
On Whidbey Island in Puget Sound, this is an alliance of anger and hate.
They're looking for answers, so they look to us and see what kind of answers they can get.
Disenchanted teenagers from city streets, they call themselves skinheads, are now being recruited by old-line white supremacists.
They recruit us. They write us and ask us for help.
I'm extending Hitler's cause. I'm fighting for it still today. Because a lot of that he did was right.
When the skinhead movement started, the music, the uniform, the boots, the tattoos were more a fashion statement than a fascist statement. But with the symbols in place, the indoctrination began.
Skinheads.
The kids were all dressed up. Now they've got somewhere to go.
They're a generation of whites that have lost out. We recruited skins in many cities all over the United States that have started up little units here and there.
In Mississippi, the extreme right has given skinheads lessons in firearms and intolerance.
Jews to Israel, Mexicans to Mexico, Puerto Ricans to Puerto Rico. Where people feel they're happy, let them have their freedom, but leave America in peace.
In Spokane last week, a skinhead was convicted of attempted murder. Provoked by nothing more than racial hatred, he stabbed a black man. In Portland, an Ethiopian immigrant was clubbed to death in November. 3 skinheads are charged with his murder. 2 skinheads were arrested in the stabbing death of a black transient in Tampa. Across the country, there has been a wave of assaults, graffiti, intimidation. The highest concentration of skinhead violence is on the West Coast.
In the last 2 months, we've seen a real increase in large groups of skinheads, large groups being anywhere from a dozen to 20 skinheads assaulting a max of 3 people. Skinheads are not into making money. Skinheads are into spreading hate.
In spite of their violent impact, there are not very many neo-Nazi skinheads. One recent count puts their number at 2,000, spread across 21 states. Here in Seattle, there are perhaps 24. But police say that's enough to account for an increase in violence in the city since September.
Do you favor violence?
I don't necessarily favor it, but if I'm provoked to, I'll fight. See you later.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Reverend Terry Morgan spends most of his time on Seattle's streets, where he's known as the Padre of the Punks. He understands the appeal of extremist politics to those who have little to lose.
It does give them a sense of belonging, which they wouldn't have anyplace else, a sense of identity.
Down the coast in Portland, there are probably 60 hardcore skinheads.
What are you fighting against?
Destroy the Zionist occupational government.
And what is the Zionist occupational government?
All the minorities that are in the country, the Jews that control our government, the foreigners that are controlling our government right now.
Violence is being given as an alternative to the kind of fears and anxieties many of these kids have out on the streets. It gives an organized solution to their problem.
How many of you are Nazis?
For many skinheads, the violence seems more important than the ideology.
When you go out booting on the fags, you prevent the spread of AIDS.
What do you call it, booting?
Yeah, you don't use your fist, you use your boot. That way when his blood comes out of his mouth, it don't get in the cut on your hand from punching him in the teeth. You don't get AIDS.
Basically, I love intimidating people, you know. The bigger they are, and if you intimidate them, you know, it's funny, you laugh about it.
Those who battle racism are watching carefully this alliance of hate and anger. They hope these are no more than young hooligans, but they fear the nation's hardcore racist movement is being revitalized by the skinheads' youthful rage. John Blackstone, CBS News, Seattle.
Nazi lowriders, or NLR, is a relatively new gang that has become a major disruptive force in the California prison system. And as Chris Blatchford is here to tell us, their influence is now spread outside prison walls. Chris.
They are establishing themselves as the gang of gangs among white supremacists. And tonight in this Fox Undercover report, we look at what we call the feeding ground for future Nazi lowrider recruits. They call themselves Dogs of War, a gang of mostly white teenagers from middle and upper middle class homes in the Mission Viejo area. Here, 7 of them saunter into a bowling alley looking, according to court records, to kick someone's ass. 16-year-old Robert Harris is carrying this huge knife. 17-year-old Daniel Batusing is armed with a heavy metal pipe. Inside a nearby arcade, a 12-year-old Hispanic boy sits all alone in front of a video game. The dogs slowly enter the room, some smiling nervously. Two walk up and ask the boy, "Where are you from?" He answers, "Santa Ana." And Harris and Batusing viciously attack. Harris with fists, Batusing with the pipe. The others act as lookouts. And as the 12-year-old struggles to escape, the thud of the pipe finds his head 2 more times. Then Harris delivers a final blow. Large gashes in the victim's head later require 60 stitches to repair the damage. Orange County Deputy DA Mark Kelly calls it vicious.
I really can't believe that this boy lived. He's probably 1 or 2 blows away from being dead.
After pleading guilty to assault with a deadly weapon and gang terrorism, teenagers Harris and Batusing get 5 years, adult time in prison. John Savino and Kevin Camp, 2 years each. Justin Landgraf and Matt Estrada still await sentencing, and a 17-year-old was placed in juvenile custody.
It really sickens you and angers you that something like this could take place in our society.
But it does. And gang experts are seeing more of it here in the ranks of street gangs with white supremacist or Nazi leanings. Here at a pool hall in the Orange County city of Cypress last August, this Hispanic man was stabbed 8 times, his companion cut once. The suspected motive, white rage. The 7 attackers, members of a gang called Insane White Boys.
These suspects identified with this gang have been connected to other hate crimes in Orange County.
Later, Nazi paraphernalia and these photos were found by police at a Westminster hideout. All 7 suspects, including Ryan Marceau of Buena Park and Ryan Moser of Riverside, have been arrested and face attempted murder charges.
White power.
Here in Lancaster, the FBI says at least 24 Nazi skinheads have been sent to prison during the last several years on charges ranging from burglary and drug sales to assault and murder. Here in this La Habra neighborhood, 4 members of a white supremacist gang called La Mirada Punks last May allegedly beat, kicked, and fatally stabbed 21-year-old Brett Engelman over a $20 debt. 2 of the suspects a few days later were found hiding out inside this gated community in Palos Verdes. Investigators say the fugitives were holed up with this man, a parolee named William Wright, who last month was sentenced to prison for 4 years on a drug charge. He is a member of the NLR, or Nazi lowriders.
You know, just Nazi lowrider gangsters, they're gangsters.
Ex-convict and former white supremacist says the NLR are hardcore.
Man, lowriders are killers, man. They're low. They're like snakes, man. It's like a rattlesnake. They're low. Come mess with them, they're gonna bite you.
The Nazi lowriders recruit from the ranks of white supremacist and Nazi skinhead gang members.
Defending our Aryan race.
When the worst of them go to prison, they get caught in the web of the Nazi lowriders. A junior NLR member explains it this way.
If you're a down skinhead and you go to the pen, that's who you're going to kick it with. If you're going to do a lot of time in the pen, you can't hang by yourself.
Tattooing their bodies with swastikas and images of Adolf Hitler, the Nazi lowriders have become a major disruptive group within the California prison system.
Drug, hate, and violence, and that's about all it is.
The gang propaganda centers around white power.
Eventually, we're gonna take over. That's how it's gonna be. There ain't gonna be no other gangs but NLR. That's just how it's gonna be. I mean, if you ain't NLR, you ain't nothing.
With that dubious reputation, the NLR continues to draw from the ranks of angry white youth.
Sometimes I feel I was put on this earth to fill a prison cell.
But as Nazi lowriders come and go from prison, there is evidence to suggest their numbers are growing at an alarming rate and spilling out onto the streets of Southern California. That story tomorrow. Nazi lowriders operate in and outside prison walls. They are often fueled by their favorite drug of choice, methamphetamines, also known as meth, speed, or crank. And as we see in this Fox Undercover report, NLR violence has already struck the general public, including police officers. It's 4:30 on a dark, cold January morning at this Kern County gas station. a sheriff's deputy down and seriously injured. Matt Knoll, an ex-con from Riverside with a Nazi lowrider tattoo on the back of his neck, was on the run in this stolen pickup. He pulled off the freeway to get some gas.
I looked over my right shoulder
and spotted Deputy Jeff Doherty filling up.
And that's when I saw the truck just barreling at me.
Knoll rammed the patrol car at 40 miles per hour, pinning Doherty between the vehicles, stripping the flesh off the deputy's leg, ripping a gash in his back, and breaking his arm. Doherty remembers as if in slow motion, looking right into Knoll's eyes.
And I realized that this was just not an accident, that this was an attempt to take me out, you know, to hit me on purpose.
His right leg left disabled after 7 painful operations. Doherty lost his job as a deputy. Knoll, who was convicted and sentenced to life in prison, testified at trial that he'd been in a drug-induced haze on a 3-day methamphetamine binge. Probation officer John Thompson says Nazi lowriders call it the lifestyle of the spun and run.
They are up 24 hours a day. They never stop. They're going straight through, and then they'll crash, and they'll sleep it off for 3 or 4 days, start the whole process all over.
NLR parolee Donald Ariasi, with repeated drug and grand theft charges on his record, 6 weeks ago was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Police in Contra Costa County caught him fleeing with a shotgun after he too ran a stolen car into a sheriff's deputy. And here in Torrance last April, police shot and killed a Nazi lowrider who shoved an officer and pulled out a gun during a traffic stop. Michael Ostermiller saw it happen.
The cops asked him to drop it, and he wouldn't. He turned towards the cops, and that's when the cops shot him.
Richard Thorpe, an NLR parolee wanted on a weapons charge, was dead on the spot. Traces of methamphetamine and alcohol later found in his system.
It was just bad. It was really, really bad. It's a nightmare, a living nightmare.
Wendy and Travis James blame the death of their 2-year-old son, Robert, on a carload of Nazi lowriders driving down Main Street in Hesperia.
I was just trying to pass them on the road, and they were just blocking us in and playing games.
An NLR gunman climbed out the window and pumped 7 slugs into the James car, killing their baby son in his car seat.
Mr. Williams.
Last month, Nazi lowrider Alvy Williams, already in prison on an unrelated weapons charge, was arraigned for murder more than a year after it happened. On a video hookup from jail, it was the first time that James saw the accused killer since the day their son was shot.
You killed my baby. You took my baby away from me, is all I want to tell him.
Travis James believes Williams was torqued out on meth the day of the murder. The trial is now set for December.
Go away.
Here at a North Hills house, an LAPD career criminal unit arrests NLR associate Patrick Cowboy Ray. NLR graffiti is painted on a door. The backyard is overflowing with stolen property, engine parts, computer terminals, tools, and even bicycles. Cops say it's all sold at garage sales to get drug money. Upland Detective Barry Belt sees the same NLR activity in his area.
Their motivation is the drugs and money. So that's what feeds their frenzy.
NLR member Jeremy Bell of Anaheim got 7 years in prison after ransacking a house, stealing $35,000 worth of stamps, jewelry, tools, and other household appliances police say he sold for dope money. His girlfriend, Juliet Slayton, who got 3 years, sent letters from jail asking a friend to stop witnesses from testifying against her. Investigators say Juliet is the old girlfriend of J.J. Stevens, a reputed NLR wannabe, now awaiting trial for the 1993 murder of Garden Grove police officer Howard Dallies. This former deputy, nearly killed by senseless NLR conduct, sends this message.
It could have been your mother, it could have been your sister, it could have been your brother, it could have been your father. I mean, where are they going to stop?
Former Deputy Jeff Doherty says there has to be an end to it. Meanwhile, Corrections Department agents tell Fox News that the Nazi lowriders are a relatively new criminal force. And to stop them, even most law enforcement agencies still need to be educated as to who the Nazi lowriders are and what they're up to.